Hi everyone, welcome to the Wise Tutor YouTube channel. In today's video, we're going to be covering tips and tricks for the SAT. So let's start with the SAT test structure with the reading section. So the reading section has 52 questions in 65 minutes. And here's a screenshot from the College Board describing the content of each of those passages. So you've got one passage from a classic or contemporary work of US or world literature. You've got one passage or a pair of passages from like a founding document or text, some political text, basically. The next one is a selection about economics, psychology, sociology, or some other social science. And then two science passages or one passage and one passage pair that examine foundational concepts and developments in earth science, biology, chemistry, or physics. And then the writing and language section is 44 questions in 35 minutes. This is also called or referred to as the grammar section. And it involves improving word choice, improving punctuation, conciseness, and organization of sentences and paragraphs. For the non-calculator math, you've got 20 questions in 25 minutes. And for the calculator math, you've got 38 questions in 55 minutes. And some of the commonly tested subjects or topics are algebra, particularly systems of equations, linear equations and inequalities, quadratics, and the concept of slopes, y-intercepts, etc. For basic geometry, you've got angles, circles, and this is rare, but it can show up, arc length. And then basic trigonometry is also rare, but you are expected to know just a little bit of trig for some of the questions on the SAT. And then quantitative math and graphing, and those questions usually show up in the calculator math section. General tips. So one of the most important ones to me is to take the most challenging courses offered at your high school. For math, I recommend 1 to 2 years of algebra, geometry, and if you're ahead enough, pre-calc or statistics. For English, I strongly recommend AP Language and Composition, and then either AP World History or AP US History. Or if you're really interested in history, you could go ahead and take both. My second tip is to start preparing for the SAT early. And this is good for many reasons that are pretty basic. More study time for first time and for retakes. More time to discover which test is better for you, the SAT or the ACT. And it's suggested that you probably start in the summer between 10th and 11th grade or the fall of 11th grade. Another tip is to create a study schedule for the SAT using Khan Academy and prioritize prep as you would a class. So give yourself some time each day that you work on the SAT or SAT prep. Another tip is to simulate the exact test environment for practice exams. So if you schedule the practice exam, you want to take it Saturday at 8 a.m. if that's possible. And then finally, create an ongoing or tentative testing schedule if you plan to take the SAT and or ACT more than once. And I recommend that early fall of senior year is your final test date, because then you have to worry about sending your scores after you've already applied to colleges. All right, and then I have here on the slide SAT tips for each section. So for reading, I recommend you do practice passages. So you do one passage a day through Khan Academy. And don't make any inferences for questions unless explicitly told to do so. The SAT reading section is pretty literal unless they tell you that, like you're using figurative language or you should make an inference here or whatever. Use those close reading strategies that you've learned in upper level English classes, things like circling and underlining important phrases or terminology, even words that you don't know. It could be helpful to use context clues to kind of define those. And then take quick notes on the side of each passage, particularly to like summarize each paragraph, because it'll be easier to refer to a paragraph from a question if you have that note. And then finally, aim to finish with 5 to 10 minutes to check. And then the writing and language section, I would say even before taking the test, take time during your studying to go over the grammar rules relevant for this section. And you can find them on the Prep Scholar blog, and they will be included in the link in the description of this video. And then aim to check or to finish with 5 minutes to check. And this is one of the harder sections in terms of timing. So practice timing when you're doing this section because it'll be helpful on the actual SAT. For the non-calculator math, the biggest tip is to learn mental math tricks, things like simple algebraic manipulation, operations, and fractions. And also aim to finish the non-calculator section with 5 to 10 minutes to check. And I think that's very possible if you learn those mental math tricks because they'll save you a lot of time. And then finally, for the calculator math, I strongly recommend that you don't rely completely on the calculator. The mental math skills are still very useful. In fact, the College Board says that you could do the calculator math section without any use of a calculator. And the indication here is that if you have strong mental math skills, you don't really need to use a calculator. But if you do have the time and you're stuck on a question, then definitely use the calculator because it'll help you get the question right. And then finally, aim to finish the calculator section with 7 to 15 minutes to check. That's just my recommendation or ballpark figure. And that'll help with finding mistakes or things that you overlooked on each of those questions. And then online resources for the SAT. The first one and the biggest one is Khan Academy. You could use it to create a study schedule. You could use it to drill down on math concepts you're consistently getting wrong. And you could use it for passage practice, like I suggested in the reading section. You could read at least one passage every day and answer its 10 questions also in a day. And then the Prep Scholar blog has free blog posts with tips and useful information about SAT and ACT. And you should definitely consult those as well. And then it also has college admissions and summer activities blogs as well. So if you're looking for any of that kind of information, they have great blogs for you to read. And then the RayDOS YouTube channel is good for mental math tricks and just going over small, in short videos, small math concepts that are tested on the SAT. And then Super Tutor TV on YouTube is another good YouTube channel for more of the tips and tricks side and less of like the technical stuff that you need to know.